guys, Tinks here. I hope you guys are all well. I am so sorry it has been such a while since you have last heard from me. I have been so busy these past few months. And today what I'm recording, I actually wrote as a blog back in November. It was the end of November. Christmas markets were around the corner and I did 5 markets in the run up to the Christmas period. And then since then, I just have not been able to catch my breath. It's been crazy. Loads of good things have gone on here at HQ. I now have the Believe Academy online coaching group on Facebook, which launched at the beginning of the year as well. So that has taken up so much of my time. So it's been a really long time coming, this vlog post, and I apologise in advance for that. We are looking at Name It to Tame It, which is a blog post you can read if you are a reader and you prefer to read. But as you guys know, I do like to do both so that people can watch, people can listen, etc., etc. Now, my Academy members are going to get first dibs on this. So by the time you guys are seeing it over on YouTube and on social media, they'll have already had a sneak preview. One of the perks of being in the Academy. But Name It to Tame It, as I say, is a blog post, has been a blog post for far too long of a time before I've got around to recording this video. But it's a topic that I kind of came across when I was last doing some real personal study on habits, and I was reading the book The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, and lots of other bits of reading around feeling and emotion and so on as well. And also by that time I was then reading High Performance Habits by Brendan Burchard as well, and that's where kind of the key message has come from today, is the Brendan Burchard book. It's a really good one. High Performance Habits. It's one of my absolute favourites. I started reading it over the summer, put it down for a little bit, picked it up again for a little bit, and I've got a little bit left of it still to read actually. But I just thought that this little piece of information that he brought to me was brilliant. And I know that in my personal career and in my life generally, I have probably confused the words feeling and emotion quite a lot. So, like I say, while I was doing this study, I read this and I understood that there is a difference, and it was properly paradigm shifting for me to remember, to realise even, because I've never realised this before, that feeling and emotion are 2 completely different things. And I was like, hang on, what? This is crazy. I need to know more. So I couldn't put the book down for a few weeks while I kind of really understood it, and that's where this blog post came from, and now where this blog post is coming from. I want to get straight to it so that you guys can find out more about it. Okay, so as I say, in the past I have absolutely definitely confused the two, in my personal life, in my career, even in my business. At times I definitely interchanged feeling and emotion, and this is my opportunity to tell you guys what I learned. Okay, so the very first thing we're going to do is just look at the definitions of the 2 words. So emotions are subconscious. Okay, they are incredibly raw, they are incredibly instinctive, and it is your emotional response is your body processing all the different sensory information it takes in all the time, and it'll produce bodily sensations, as I say, that what it feels are the right response to the current situation. So you get these waves of emotion come over where you might feel like you need to cry, you might feel like you want to run away, you might feel angry, butterflies, raised heart rate, you know, that kind of pounding in your ears kind of sensation. And these are this sensory information being kind of read, and usually your body kind of going, you're in danger, panic mode, you're in danger, panic mode. And these are the things that will happen along the way as a result of that. Feeling, on the other hand, is a conscious process, and it becomes influenced by the way we interpret the emotions that we're feeling at the time. So the sensory information we've processed and the actual physical responses that we have had, we then make sense of, and that's the feeling that we label it. Where I call it Name It to Tame It, I mean that in a sense of, you name the emotion, you name the feelings that you're feeling by taking in all of this information, and you do that. That's a conscious experience. Okay, so if we're naming it in the right ways, we're taming it in the right ways. That's why the whole idea is Name It to Tame It. Okay, and it's the interpretation where it can go a little bit wrong, because we're taking in the sensory information, we're taking in those emotional responses, and what your brain will always try and do naturally is make connections. Okay, so your brain will want to pull all of this information together and make sense of it. Now, the thing is with that is that over time, the way that we reflect on experiences, the way that we are able to recount events, it changes. Okay, and if you go to the NLP's meta model, you'll understand that, because you know the your brain only takes in a certain amount of information at a time, especially consciously. And so what's happening along the way is a good bunch of information that your brain's taken in has been deleted and it's gone. A good, then, what does make it through that siphon can then be distorted, again, depending on how you're feeling at the time. So your feelings are always interconnected and are always impacting on future situations, and then can be generalized from that point afterwards as well. Your brain can take in can deal with 11 million pieces of information every single second, but consciously will only process 40 to 50 of those pieces of information. So it's capable of an awful lot, but consciously, that is such a small percentage that it's actually dealing with at any one time. And so a lot of the information that you're taking in kind of slips through the net and will be either deleted entirely because your brain will say it's not important, distorted completely, or generalized. And then when we then go back to these experiences to deal with a situation, to label that feeling, because we've got all this sensory information coming in, all these emotional, physical responses, when you're trying to kind of piece everything together, what might be happening is that your brain, because it's been influenced by emotions over time and all of this NLP we take into account as well, the labeling accurately that feeling can be really difficult. So being able to actually put a name to that can be really tricky to get right, because your brain is only running off what it knows, what it's been able to take in, and so on. So an example of this would be a feeling in action. You can look at people in various different situations, but one that I like to use, and the one that Brendan Burchard uses, is about when you're attending maybe a large event for the very first time. Okay, maybe you're going to a big networking meeting, you're going to a party with people you've never met before, you're attending a wedding and you don't really know an awful lot of people who are going to be there, things like that. So the trigger in this situation, because there's always something that starts that sensory processing journey off, the trigger could be the fact that there's a large crowd that you can hear. So you're approaching the building, you can hear everybody inside. Or the fact that you're understanding that there's going to be a lot of people there that you've never met before and they don't know an awful lot about you, and you don't obviously know an awful lot about them. And the sensations that can follow as your brain's taking all of this sensory information in could be things like getting butterflies in your stomach, heart rate, palms sweating, that ringing in your ears that I said about before. And at this point, all your brain is doing is just trying to make sense of everything that it's thinking, feeling, noticing, and then it will relate back to things that have happened in the past. It'll think back to the last time you felt like this, the last time you had sweaty palms, the last time you had butterflies in your stomach, the last time you had your heart racing, etc., etc. And depending on how the last few situations have gone for you, in terms of how you've then interpreted them, how you've labeled them, how they actually played out, and how you've reflected on those experiences since, that's an important one, because if you've got quite a biased interpretation of that forwarding on from there and thinking on from there, your brain's drawing back to all of that information. And at that point, you've kind of got two choices. You could stand there and go, this is exciting, my heart's racing because I just cannot wait to get in there and build these new connections. Or you could stand there and go, I feel really awkward here, I really don't want to go in and speak to these people, my heart is absolutely pounding, I'm sweating, I feel like I'm going to pass out. And you could go with it a different way. So under pressure, the problem is that this is really fast and furious. Your brain will make all these decisions. Like I say, it's dealing with 11 million pieces of information a second, and only actually about 40 to 50 of them. So the problem is that an awful lot of this is happening without us even being aware of it, without us even being conscious of the experience. Okay. So your brain is just tying all these ends together and wanting to just get it over and done with and get out of danger mode and get out of panic mode. Thing is, we want that panic mode there because this is the kind of thing that will keep us alive. It's primeval, it's instinctive. We need it. It's a survival strategy. Okay. But ideally, what we would like is a little bit of time to be considerate and take a little step back and be that little bit more aware of the situation and us particularly, and how we then are able to choose our response that little bit more with that little bit more of a clear head and that little bit more of a clear mind. So you've got to kind of picture yourself in that situation, and it might be you might choose to go back to a situation where that has happened in the past. And I would imagine that when I've just explained that situation, there will be everybody out there will be able to recall a time when they felt like that. So either think back to a time where that happened, or if you've got something coming up in the future, this is a brilliant visualization opportunity because you can use what I'm about to tell you to help you with this upcoming scenario that might be happening. And then rather than you sitting and worrying and stressing about this potential situation that's up and coming, you will be able to use this visualization technique to play out the different opportunities and the different potential ways that and outcomes of this situation. So some questions to consider at that point of my ears are ringing, my palms are sweating, I feel a bit sick, I've got butterflies, all of that. I just want to cry. I can feel, when you can just kind of feel yourself going red with either like embarrassment or just sheer, I'm about to sob in front of all of these people. This is the kind of thing that we need to try and take a step back and do so that we can be better at naming these emotions and therefore taming them, giving it a feeling. Okay. So what am I experiencing at this moment? This is those proper, true physiological symptoms. And sometimes actually what we do there is hand on your heart, feel your heart rate. Sometimes they say putting your hands on your stomach really connects you physiologically to your body and allows you an opportunity to really kind of take your sensory information in. Sometimes people will recommend sitting down. I would always recommend that, especially if you can feel your heart racing and things like that, because it's not a nice experience when you stood up to start to feel a little bit dizzy and things like that. Okay. And as you're really kind of honing in on these physiological symptoms, you've got to think about, do they match with fight, flight and freeze and things like that we know from the past. Okay, so freezing basically being that your body is just in such a panic that you feel like you've just got to stay, you feel like you're incapable of moving, doing much of anything, that sort of thing. Flight is obviously feeling like you need an escape, that you need to get away. And fight, particularly if you're in a situation with another person, is almost kind of like that underlying aggression, that survival instinct really kicking in, where actually you're not going to run away. You want to stand up to what it is that's going on. And then, as I said before, actually consciously think to yourself, have I experienced this before? And what happened last time that I felt like this? What was going on? And try and be as I always get these the wrong way around, and I don't know whether I mean subjective or objective, but trying to be as honest with yourself as you can about what happened last time, and trying not to maybe do as much generalizing or trying to think about it with a really clear mindset. So avoid biasing the information, avoid telling little lies to yourself to make yourself feel better. So last time I felt like this, what did happen? Okay. And then from there, you can think about how you deal with it. You can think about whether the situation truly is just too much and you need to leave. You can think about whether you need to do some deep breaths, you need to get a drink of water, you need to edge yourself into the experience a little bit more slowly rather than going into fight mode and going in guns blazing. Do you need a different approach? Do you need some more time? Like I say, that's the kind of situation. Just 5 minutes of your time can really change the way that you then walk into this situation, because you've labelled your feeling more accurately. And then next time this experience comes around, that's likely to be more accurate as well, because you've got into this positive cycle of checking out your thoughts, your sensory processing information, your emotional responses, your physiological responses, and then you're labeling the feeling more accurately. The whole process becomes more accurate the more you do this. And as I say, this whole concept of name it to tame it comes from that final step. And as you're thinking about all of those things I've just told you about, you're actually spending time with your body. You're tying everything together and giving it the truest interpretation that you can at that time. And usually actually having that 5 minutes to do that is a natural calming technique. And you can come to conclusions, as I've said, with the absolute best accuracy you can give then. And you've naturally probably calmed yourself down as well. And then you can decide a way to do some body restoration and restore your body. Bear with me. So the thing is, naturally, when you kind of go into that survival mode, your body will do things like releasing adrenaline and other chemicals. Obviously, your heart's been racing, you can get a little bit sweaty and feel a little bit horrible. And so naturally, after an experience like that, you don't tend to feel all that great. And having loose adrenaline running around your body can make you feel really rubbish for a good period of time as well. So there's three possible steps you can take at this point, called stretch, shake and sigh. Kind of self-explanatory, but they will help kind of rebalance the actual physiological side of your body. So now you know exactly how you're feeling and you've labeled it. You restore your body and then you can go on to the situation. Stretching is really good for loosening up muscles and releasing tension that you might have built up, because that's the kind of thing that can come along really easily without you realizing, because your heart's racing or your ears are, banging and whatever. You can lose sight of the fact that actually you've been really tense while you've been really upset or frustrated. So stretching and just having just a few minutes to just loosen up your body and loosen up your muscles can be really helpful. Shaking and using up excess adrenaline, those two work really well together, because stretching can get rid of extra adrenaline running through your body as well. Anything that's excess adrenaline or chemicals, shaking and stretching really helps kind of loosen all of that up and get rid of that. And taking a sigh, so being able to go, really helps restore your heart rate and balance out your breathing as well. So there's a few things there that you can do that'll restore the physiological side of your symptoms. So that's me. I hope that you've enjoyed that. I hope you've learned something. I know I certainly did. I found it absolutely mind-blowing. And to just have that as a peace of mind, you won't always be able to execute that method effectively every single time, because some situations you might see red and you might dive in, or you might be so upset you feel like you can't deal with it, or it might just be too scary that day, so you turn around and you come away. So, but knowing that that's there and knowing why we react in the way that we do, just having that awareness is fantastic in itself. So if you have taken the time today to just sit and watch this video, well done you, because just having this awareness is fantastic, and knowing that you don't have to fight, flight or freeze every single time. You don't only have a few seconds and a couple of responses. You have as much time as you need, and you can label it in any way that you choose. And the more time you spend doing it, and the more times we get to practice this, the better you will become at the skill. It's like anything, practice all the time and you'll get more competent at it. Have a brilliant rest of the week, gang. Thank you to all my believers who are going to see this in the Academy first. And if you're not an Academy member and you would like to become an Academy member, please just let me know. It's an online coaching group on Facebook whereby I post things like this, and you would get exclusive access to this before everybody else. But we also do 4 live streams a week on various different topics to do with personal development and neuroscience, goal setting, planning, organisation. And if you've just got something in particular that you want to work towards, and a goal that you've set, or you want help with any of that, then it's a really good opportunity to get that help from me. The sun is coming out. I love it. Yes. I'm going to go and enjoy the rest of my day. Please go and enjoy the rest of yours. Thank you so much for watching. Just a quick one. As you know, I always have comments turned off, because it means that the video is then safe for children to watch. And it means that anybody can access my content without me having to worry about spam, anything, any bullying, any hate, anything like that can't be done, because the video is on comments turned off. But I would really, really love it if you could leave me a feedback in the form of thumbs up and thumbs down. And as always, I'll include my link tree in the comments so that if anybody actually wants to leave me feedback personally, you can reach out on social media and you can do that. Have a brilliant week, guys. Take care. I will see you soon. Believing is just the beginning.